This week on Dance of Joy, we talk about sacrificing sofas, lift logistics, and Reading references. All that and more as we watch Season 7, Episode 18 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello, cousin, and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. My name is Imran. I'm here with you every episode, every week. Also with me every week, my sister, Cousin Sophia.
You're what now?
Sister, comma, Cousin Sophia is her title. What's up, sister?
What's up? You want to know something wild? I just bought a sofa for the first time in my life. Somehow I've managed, up until this point in my life, sitting on other people's sofas.
What did you sit on?
I don't know.
What do you watch television on?
Nothing. In bed.
No.
Sometimes
relax
nothing. Sometimes other people's sofas. I don't know how I managed, but I had to do it for the first time ever, and it was not fun. I just have one question: why in this country right now do you have to be a millionaire to sit comfortably in your living room? It used to be like, oh, if I ever win the lottery, I'm gonna buy a sports car and take a cruise. Now it's like, if I win the lottery, I'm going to have a little more cushioning under my butt.
Sofas
in the living room.
Yes, surprisingly
They're
expensive.
so expensive.
Thousands and thousands of dollars. Also, nowadays, you could buy a sofa. It comes in a box. You assemble it in your apartment.
No, I did one
several boxes.
better.
We had those.
I ended up buying what I think, it was still expensive, but it was like a cheapy thing that I found on Wayfair, and they had a free, because I live 2 floors up, no elevator, like a walk up. And so they had we'll come and deliver it and put it together. But it turns out there was no putting together. It was just like a huge sofa-sized box, and it was fully already assembled inside.
Oh, it was
this
a sofa
giant
in a box.
And they just brought the box up and took it out of took the sofa out of the box and took the box away.
I'm going to start a sofa subscription model for online. So 1 week you get one cushion.
Oh, yeah.
The next week, you'll get the other cushion.
Yeah, and then in 12 and a half weeks, you have
quick
a full
payments,
sofa.
you'll have a full sofa that you've assembled.
A leasing.
Week by week. What do you think? It's a good idea? Anybody want to invest in that?
Just see if you like the cushions in the meantime.
Yeah. If anybody wants to invest in my startup, send me a note.
It's a terrible idea.
Okay.
Don't do that.
Let's not do that. Let's find out what that has to do with this week's episode.
Speaking of moving sofas up
Perfect Strangers.
up floors, this week we're talking about Perfect Strangers, Season 7, Episode 18, entitled The Elevator.
Oh, The Elevator.
The Elevator.
Just straightforward.
I guess. What is The Elevator about? If you were to look in the TV guide.
It's the thing that you go up and down the floors.
Oh, sometimes people call it the lift.
Why doesn't it go sideways? I've always wondered. It can only go up and down. So limiting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like 4D elevator.
4D elevator, diagonal.
I need this elevator to move through time, please.
The Jetsons probably have that.
Yeah.
Okay. If you were to read the TV guide about this episode, you would have read the following description. The cousins experience the ups and downs, get it, of moving Wainwright's couch to his office via the elevator.
Oh, couch in an elevator.
They got to move a couch upstairs. This already sounds very familiar, a very familiar premise.
Also relatable. So I think some of the cousin listener, maybe the listeners had this problem of moved into a high rise. I know I certainly have. Maybe I'll remember the story afterwards.
Yeah, no, there was no elevator for me. They just carried it up 2 flights of stairs.
Yeah, well, in Brooklyn, when we lived in a brownstone. It was like a 3rd floor walk up, and all those buildings are walk ups, right?
You have to bring furniture up?
Oh, yeah, you got to carry it up yourself. And you currently, yes, in the Chicago buildings.
Yeah, the old ones.
But then there's bigger high-rise buildings that has elevators.
Elevators. Okay, let's see how people get their sofas upstairs in an elevator. In this episode, we have our 2 leads, Bronson Pinchot and Mark Lynn Baker as Balky and Larry. We also have our favorite Mr. Wainwright, played by F.J. O'Neill. That's the publisher of the newspaper and their boss. And then we've got a couple small guest parts.
In this episode, notably directed by Joel Zwick, returning He didn't direct an episode for the last few seasons.
Since
Judy
the last
Pioli.
time they moved something heavy upstairs.
He also directed the episode The Piano Movers.
Yeah.
So him coming back was kind of, I was like, oh, Joel Zwick is back. Because Judy
Very
Pioli
Zwickian.
has been directing these episodes. And
Pioli of Pioli's Pizza.
Pioli. This episode aired on March 14, 1992. But right now in 2024, I don't know if you noticed, Bronson's been here and there. He's been looking sharp. He's
been on the red carpet doing
They had
interviews.
the red Kermit premiere of the red Kermit premiere. What did I say?
Green Kermit.
The red Kermit carpet premiere of Beverly Hills Axel F, which is Beverly Hills Cop 4. That's coming out on Netflix in July. Of course, he plays Serge. And so, have you seen the photo of him in the suit?
Saw his,
in the floral suit. It's a very nice suit.
I saw his red carpet interview on Entertainment Tonight or Entertainment.
Here's a little clip where right in the beginning where he asks the reporter's name,
and he does half of it,
and
as
he
Serge,
slips into Serge.
Now we're talking. How do you spell it?
Ambris.
Really? Ambris?
Just like that, with little roll.
Yes, I like. Well, that's because I'm somewhat channeling Serge today because he like a name like Andres. Because if your name was like Johnson or even Bataille, it's not, and this is not sexy. And these are beautiful. They're so beautiful the way they dangle. Everything is so perfect. The little pleats.
I tried.
Yes, you smell so gorgeous too. What?
I wanted to impress Serge to make sure.
Oh, he's not that hard.
And then he pops out of it.
That's not the interview I saw.
Yeah, well, there's a whole red carpet,
yeah.
bunch of different clips. I just love that he's kind of doing the Balky voice in 2024.
But
as
it's Serge.
Serge.
Serge is more like, I think, was inspired by an Israeli person he knew. It sounds very Israeli
But
accent. Hebrew
Serge
accent.
is like kind of the birth of how he gets Balky.
For sure, yeah.
And so it all is full circle. It
But
comes
for
back.
Balky, he moved down to the Mediterranean.
Yes. But it's
bit.
still similarly just like
Foreign.
Foreign, yes. Just like generically foreign. So that's great. I can't wait to see that movie. But right now,
When does that come out?
July 3rd, 4th?
All right,
I don't know, on
soon.
Netflix, 4th of July.
Oh, we got to get tickets and see it.
No, it's on Netflix.
Oh, it's on Netflix.
You can get tickets, but I'm just going to watch it on Netflix.
I didn't know.
You could pay me
Beverly Hills
$20.
Cop, I would expect it to have a theater,
Not anymore.
release.
Coming to America made a sequel called Coming to the number 2 America. Amazon straight to video.
Oh, okay.
Bill and Ted's did their latest movie straight to video.
right.
These are all going
I am
straight to
oblivious.
streaming. I don't think people would go see a Beverly Hills Cop movie now.
Okay,
I don't know.
We'll watch it on Netflix.
It's a lot
July
better.
3rd.
It just shows up on your Netflix. But
Our long
if you want to watch Perfect Strangers, you need to go to Amazon Prime.
Yes.
That's where that is. Beverly Hills Cop on the Netflix.
Okay, back to the elevator. Let's get into this. In the beginning of Act 1, we are back in an old familiar place. Of course, the guys don't work in this space anymore, but we are in the basement of the Chicago Chronicle. The set still exists.
It's so comforting.
Yes,
some
we're like,
sense of
okay, they're back
normalcy.
in their old stomping ground.
I remember this basement.
But they're just passing through. They're like coming from the garage or something. And what we see in the main part is Mr. Wainwright and two like moving men, big dudes, and a large like pink couch that's like sitting on its almost like upside down, right?
It's sitting on its end, on its back end, upright, yeah.
In front of the elevator. And they're all looking stumped. And one of the movers says that they can't get the couch into Wainwright's office because it won't fit in the elevator right there. First line.
That's the first line. And as he's saying that, Belky and Larry walk in to oversee
from the
parking garage what's going on. And Belky's leaning on his dolly. And Wainwright's like, he spent a lot of money redecorating his office and they can't get this up there. And suddenly Larry overhears all this and he goes, you hear that,
buggy-eyed.
Opportunity is knocking.
Oh, boy. Already?
And so he's already getting excited to jump at this opportunity. Wainwright's like, well, take it back. What am I going to do? And Larry's like, no, sir. No need to take it back. It just so happens during college, I worked for the 8 Garibaldi Brothers Moving Company. I was so good, they laid off 4 brothers. That's what he says to impress him. And Wainwright's like, you could get this sofa up to my office. And Larry says, absolutely. Oh,
Very
boy.
confident.
Wow, this is very quick getting into the plot right away.
Yeah, Larry's
3 lines.
stakes are
We're there.
established.
Yes.
He will do anything to impress Wainwright.
Who presumably still thinks he's an idiot.
Right. And he's always out to like clear his name, show
Yeah.
Mr. Wainwright he's capable. And so he hears these 2 beefy career professional moving men
Yes.
say,
He sees 2 movers
we
saying,
can't get this couch
not
up
happening.
because it doesn't fit in the elevator. And he's like, I can do it.
oh, boy.
And I just want to know what's in his head. We're going to find out. So he very confidently assures Wainwright he can do it. And Wainwright goes, is this going to be like that time you insisted on cleaning my aquarium and got your head stuck in
How
it?
does that even happen?
How does that happen?
How does that happen? Larry says, no, it won't be like that. I will treat your couch with TLC. And Wainwright's like, I got a better idea. Treat it as if it means your J-O-B. Oh. And he leaves, and Balky turns to Larry and goes, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, find out what it means to me.
Nice.
Singing the song.
Aretha
Respect.
Franklin.
Yes. And then so one of the delivery guys, his name is Bob. You can see it on this big thing. Bob.
Yeah.
Bob walks over to Larry and goes, good luck with that couch, sucker. And he grabs the dolly and pulls it down, and Balky is still on top of the dolly. And he's like, whoa. And Bob pops him up off the dolly. He goes, don't play with my dolly. Bob is played by an actor named Fred Novak. And just like all these guest stars, he's been in tons of things.
All the same shows.
L.A. Law, Dallas, Quantum Leap, Knots Landing, Life Goes On, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Seinfeld, Lois and Clark, Party of Five, The Practice, Suddenly Susan, Melrose Place, The X-Files, Friends, Becker, NYPD Blue, Boston Public, CSI, ER, Scrubs, lots of things.
Charmed.
He's been in everything.
Criminal Minds.
Just like everybody else.
Just like everyone. This was like a hot era of TV acting.
Don't play with my dolly.
Okay, so the movers exit because they're like, these guys are dumb.
Good luck on the couch, sucker.
And Wainwright's gone, and we're left with Balky and Larry in this couch in the basement of the Chronicle. And Larry like rolls up his sleeves, takes off his jacket. He's like, all right, we got a job to do. And Balky's like, hey, cousin, you never told me that you were a mover. And Larry goes, Balky, I've never moved a piece of furniture in my life. What? We saw this coming. And he goes, but how hard can it be to get a couch into an elevator?
Did we just discuss piano movers in the episode Joel Zwick and the piano at Lydia's house?
And also very early in the whole, like season 1, wasn't he moving a refrigerator in Twin Cassetti's shop? And
What about,
like,
didn't they move from apartment to a house? You didn't move anything?
They moved from an apartment to a house.
Okay, maybe it was all done by movers, but you're moving furniture around, Larry Appleton.
Yeah.
You're definitely like, oh, this should have been on somewhere else.
Piano movers, refrigerator.
So he says, how hard can it be to get a couch in the elevator? And Bucky's like, well, it depends about how much of the couch you want to get into the elevator and whether or not you want the doors to shut. So it's a really long couch.
Yeah.
And I doubt the elevator is that deep. And then Larry, of course, has a plan. He's already figured this out.
He starts to Larry explain.
Yeah, he's already figured
literally
this out.
says, Balky, let me explain. He tells him that getting the couch into the elevator is all a matter of finding the magic angle.
Oh, the magic angle.
Balky's like, oh, yeah. He said, Vila, the goat girl, used to say there was a certain magic in my ankles.
And he lifts his foot up and like puts
Not
shows him his
ankles.
ankle.
That's a fun little
Magic
joke.
ankles.
And he shows his ankle, yeah. And Larry's like, all right, stop it. Just help me get. He's like, we got to get this into the elevator. Balky objects. He says, cousin, the only way you're going to get this couch into that elevator is to saw it in half.
Sow it in half. And Larry goes, no, we are not going to sow it in half.
I love it when Larry says words.
He says
like
he's like, we're not going to, and Larry continues, he's like, we're not going to sow it. Meanwhile, Balky's like, well, you could make a nice set of sectionals, maybe a little end table, cut it in half.
Larry's like, we're not going to sow it in half. What we're going to do is take this end into the elevator, then lift it up. Now you take this end and I'll take that end. He's pointing to the end. He gives Balky the end closer to the elevator and he says he'll take the one farther from the elevator. And Balky says, well, how come you get the good end?
The good end.
And Larry's like, there's no good end. They're the same ends. And they say, how come you want that end then? And he's like, no, you take that end. And then they like squabble over just like, Balky's like, I want to take this end. They're both the same. Just take me this. They're the same. I didn't get to see that end.
Well, he walks over there and he's like, let me take a look at that end. Let me take a look. And he walks and looks at it. And he walks back to the other side. And Larry's like, get down there to that end. And Balky's like, I am a citizen of this country. I can vote. I can choose. I do not have to take this end. And then he just starts crying and goes, please let me have that end. And collapses over the thing. And Larry's like, oh. Fine. And as they walk past each other, switching sides, like Balky stops and hugs Larry in the middle. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And so now they're both at the opposite ends of the thing. And what Larry goes, happy.
And Balky goes, well, professionally, I can't complain, and my personal life is pretty satisfying, and I've got a little money in the bank, so overall, I'm going to say yes, I'm happy.
I'm glad Balky's in a good space in life. Yeah. You know, he's got a little bit of balance. That's
and Larry
not what he meant.
Just like rolls his eyes, and he's like glad to hear it. And then Balky keeps going, I think spiritually, and Larry's like, all right, pay on the count of 3, we're going to lift. Ready? And he goes down to he squats down. And he goes 1, 2, 3, lift, and Larry picks up his end of the couch, but Balky's just standing there.
Balky does not pick it up. He goes, "Oh, now?"
Yeah.
Larry's like, "Yes, now." And then Balky does reach down, pick up his end of the couch, and then Larry goes, "Okay, now circle." At which point Balky puts down the sofa and takes a spins
around in a circle,
and then picks the sofa back up again. And Larry doesn't react to this. He goes, okay, now swing it around.
And so they're swinging it around, and he did exactly what we heard him say early in the show when he was moving that other.
Swing it around.
Swing it on in. Just back it up. Swing it on in.
But now this makes Balky end up back towards the elevator, walking backwards. And as they're walking to the elevator, he goes, I know I had the bad end.
Yeah, because he's back where he started from.
And Larry is just shoving this elevator back. And
shoving the couch.
The couch into the elevator. Balky's on the inside of the elevator. He turns around to hold it, and Larry goes, okay, now lift it up.
Yeah.
Keep lifting. And the couch slips, and so Larry, with his back turned, is just forcefully pushing back on this thing, and Balky at this point is now
trapped
between the sofa and the elevator, kind of getting crushed.
Pinned. Yes. Yeah, and he's like, cousin,
stop pushing. And he's like, stop pushing.
Larry keeps saying, lift it up. Balky's in the back going, stop, and he's being crushed behind
Larry's
this couch.
Well, I feel it going in. That's it. Keep going.
Pushing,
there it goes.
Stop
there it goes.
pushing.
And Balky's like, stop.
And Larry's like, go to the left. There, I think he's...
And then so Balky drops his end of the couch, kind of gets around, reaches forward, and grabs the back of Larry's head by the hair and just goes, stop pushing. And Larry's like, ow, ow. There's a lot of hair grabbing. Larry's hair gets grabbed a lot this episode. It's hilarious. So Larry stops pushing, and he drops the sofa, at which point Balky screams.
Yeah, because the sofa has dropped on Balky's foot.
And Larry's
Balky's still in the elevator.
Larry's like, what's wrong?
Balky's like, foot. And Larry's like, what's wrong? Oh, your foot. And then he goes to look, but he has to step onto the
sofa,
couch.
Looking over.
And that just makes Balky scream more. And then Larry doesn't realize, and he's like, oh, but your foot's caught under the couch. You have to get it out. But he can't because Larry's standing on it. And then Balky grabs Larry's hair again, pulls his head back, and he looks at his face. He goes, get it off. And then Larry realizes, jumps off the couch, lifts it up, and then Balky
moves his foot, and then Larry goes into the elevator, goes, are you okay? At which point, Balky grabs him by the collar.
Homer Simpson
throws him to the back of the elevator, starts choking him. Now, what struck me about all of this is a complete reversal of what normally would happen. It would be Larry getting hurt and Balky being the one not knowing what's going on and saying, oh, cousin, your foot's under there. But
like in the gazebo.
Or in the gazebo, or maybe they did it in Piano Movers.
Yeah.
Every other time, but now they flip it around.
I wonder why.
I guess it's clever or lazy. I don't know which one. I don't know which one.
Maybe we're thinking more about it than they did.
So they're literally wrestling. Larry has Balky in a headlock on top of the sofa, and he's like slamming his head into the sofa, and then they just kind of stop. And Balky's like, cousin, this isn't working. And Larry goes, I think you're right.
And Balky asks Larry why they don't just tell Mr. Wainwright the couch doesn't fit in the elevator. And Larry goes, Balky, we are not quitters. We are not shirkers. We are not slackers. And Balky says, we are not movers.
We are not movers. I'll give him points for using the word shirker. You don't hear that a lot.
Yeah, someone who
shirk your responsibility. Yeah. We are not shirkers. I was like, oh, Oh, nobody ever says
No
that.
one says shirker.
That's a good word.
It is a good word.
But they needed 3 things, right?
Yeah,
and
shirkers,
and it kind of
slackers,
rhymes.
movers.
Slackers, quitters, shirkers, slackers. We're not movers.
Yeah. And so then we find out what's at stake for Larry because he gets desperate and he begs. He falls to his knees and begs Belky, please, you've got to help me. I've got to convince Mr. Wainwright I am not an idiot.
How long is this?
That's what his whole motivation is. And Balky's like, good luck. He says, I can't believe he remembered the aquarium thing. Or Larry says, I can't believe he remembered the aquarium thing. And Balky goes, I didn't want to say anything at the time, but that was pretty stupid. Good thing for you, I had that snorkel in my desk.
Oh my God, he had to give him a snorkel. What happened with the aquarium?
And Larry says, okay, kid, if you could just be the same way helpful this time, I'd appreciate it. And Balky's like, okay. And so
Belky's laying on top of this couch and he turns and he looks kind of up into the elevator shaft because, the thing is, if we could just get rid of the ceiling, the couch would fit in there. And Larry looks in there and he groans and he's like, that is the stupidest idea I've ever heard. And then his eyes bug out and he goes, Belky, you're a genius.
Yeah.
And Belky's like, kind of a mixed message, don't you think? He's like sort of like jumbo shrimp.
And Larry has had a plan, obviously. He's like, no, this is a brilliant idea. If the couch won't fit into the elevator, we'll put the couch on top of the elevator.
Oh, this sounds like a great idea.
And Balky's like, was that my idea?
He's like, that doesn't sound like me.
Funny, that doesn't sound like me. And Larry's already 3 steps ahead. He's like, just help me get the couch out of the elevator. And Balky's like lying sideways the couch is lying on its side and Balky's lying on top of it on his stomach. And he's like, I'm just taking a little rest right now. And Larry goes to the back. Oh no, then they have like another squabble about the end. Like, take that end. No, this is my end. I want that and this, blah, blah, blah. And Balky like pulls himself forward. He's still on his stomach to look at that side of the edge. And so he's like, imagine him on his stomach, kind of like surfing on top of the couch. Larry has gone to the back and he's now pushing the couch slowly out of the elevator. And then once it starts moving, Balky like a butterfly strokes or whatever
like
you call that, swims with his arms and legs. And it's just this cute little thing. And then he hops off the couch. So then Larry gets out. They get out. The elevator doors close, and he explains that he has sent the elevator down 1 floor.
Wait, I thought they were in the basement.
From the basement.
There's another basement?
I guess suddenly there's a level 2 basement.
Okie dokie.
Maybe it's another layer of the parking garage or something. But we've never heard of a downstairs from the basement.
Yeah, I thought that was the basement.
So, but Larry has sent the elevator down 1 floor from the basement, and he says, I'll pry the doors open. And then, like that's something he does all the time. He's like, I'll just pry the elevator.
Pry the doors open.
Who knows how to pry elevator doors open?
Just force it open.
Have you ever pried elevator doors?
If you see movies, you stick your fingers in there and you just pry it open. Like
That's
always
not even
open.
what he does on this because it opens
it's like the double
weird
slide. Yeah, it's the double panel elevator door.
But I don't know. Next time I see an elevator, I'm just going to try to pry it open like it's something that people do. So he goes, oh, no problem. I'll just pry the elevator. No problem. Pry the doors
Really
open.
an inconvenience.
And then we'll load the couch on top of the elevator. Oh, no problem.
So the elevator stops and he turns around and he does
and
that.
He pries
the elevator
but it's
door
not
open.
what we're thinking. It's not elevator doors that open from the middle to either side. It opens all the way from one side and folds all the way across. So I don't know how he did it. He just opened
That's actually easier because then you just have to push the middle part.
Yeah.
You can kind of force it open. Plus, this is an old building. It's probably really easy to open these elevators.
Yeah, and remember, I guess they never replaced Harriet Winslow.
Yeah. She would normally
she would
be
know
running
how to...
They updated the elevator since then.
Yeah.
We'll see. There's some updates that just show up in this episode. So anyways, he opens the door and they're standing there and it's the top of the elevator shaft. And Belky's like, cousin, since this was my idea, I hereby withdraw my idea. And Larry's like, it'll be fine. He's like, now, to make this work, we're gonna have to stop the elevator on 15.
But Wainwright's office is on 16, Belky points out.
And so Larry says that's why you stop it on 15 so we can unload the couch at 16 somehow. I don't know how they're going to do this.
When he said this, it's like a passing line to get to the next line, but my brain stopped right there because I'm like, how are they going to manage that? Because you have to run downstairs to press or get in the elevator or somehow, or run downstairs to get in, to press the button to send it up. Then when you get up, you have to stop at 15 with a couch on top and then get out and run up the stairs one floor to like
Yes.
pry that elevator open and pull the couch out.
Something like that.
So anyway, they just left it hanging and my brain fully fixated on that for a while.
No, if they're no. If the If the elevator stops on 15, they're on top of the elevator. They just
they're
pry the
riding on
doors
top.
open where they are.
Okay.
And
You're right.
So,
but how are you going to press 15? Yeah.
well,
right?
somebody has
We're gonna
to
figure that out
press
soon.
15 if they stop it there.
That's right. They can just stay on top too. Okay. Okay. So let's see what actually happens. So he's like, get now. They're still outside of the elevator, and Larry tells Balky to get on top of the elevator. It's like an empty elevator shaft. The elevator's right below them. And help me pull the couch in. And Balky just like looks into the elevator shaft.
Like, I'm not going to get on top of the elevator.
I'm not going to get on that.
I'm not getting on top
Larry's
of the elevator.
just get on top.
I'm not getting on top. I'm not
just
getting
get
on top of the
on
elevator.
top. He's like, I don't even know if it's going to support my weight. And then Larry pushes Balky on top of the elevator into the shaft, and he's standing on and then Balky gets mad and immediately again grabs Larry by the hair and pulls him in as well. So another both on top of the elevator in the elevator shaft.
And Larry's holding the elevator door open with his hand, but they are both standing on top of the elevator. And Balky's like, what if something goes wrong? And Larry goes, don't be silly. Nothing can go wrong. And Balky says, you always say that right before things go wrong. And Larry goes, what are you talking about? And he starts to gesture. He removes his hand from the elevator door, and the elevator door slides shut. And then you can hear from outside Balky go, cousin, this has fish tank written all over it. And now we notice that there is a new display above the elevator of the floors, light up floors. Before they had like a sliding arrow.
A sliding arrow or like a dial or something?
Something like that.
Dial.
Now it's like circles with numbers, and you'll notice there is a B2 and a B1.
Yeah, it's a whole new building.
So the door closes, and we zoom into the numbers, and you see the elevator go up to the third floor and then come back down to B2, at which point the doors get pried open again.
On B1.
On B1, where we are.
Yeah.
And Balky and Larry are just standing there.
And Balky's like, well, at least we learned the route. And Larry says that he thinks it's going to go just as smoothly with the couch on top of the elevator.
With a giant heavy couch on top of an elevator.
Help me put the couch in.
Ceiling that's not designed to hold a lot of weight. Probably, this is not a good idea.
This next line is perhaps my favorite joke of the episode. Balky says, this would never happen on Meepos. And Larry goes, why? No elevators? And Balky says, no couches. Which I totally saw coming, but it's still so funny. No couches. And then he goes,
then there's a tag.
It's also the reason we have no talk shows. What a funny tag. It's the tag that gets me. Oh, it's so cute. No talk shows on Meepos because there's no couches.
What are they? They just have hammocks and ottomans and just
Stools.
armchairs.
Yeah.
Yes,
no
or
couches.
they just take a squat.
Office chairs.
Just office chairs, folding chairs, no couches.
No couches. It's also the reason we have no talk shows. So funny. That's a great joke.
And then this is great little efficient editing here. So now they're squabbling about, Larry's like, Balky, take that in. And Balky's like, I want to take this in. He's like, no, take this in. He's like, no, I'll take this in. And then Larry's like, I'll do it myself. And he starts to pull the sofa in, and Balky grabs him by the hair, pulls him back. And then you have this transition effect where the screen kind of flips around.
Yeah.
And the couch is now in the elevator.
Yeah.
So they just jump past.
Somehow it was
the
no
actual
problem.
hoisting. Now
Somehow
the couch
these two managed to get the
standing
couch
vertically
upright on top of the elevator.
Top of the elevator.
How did they do it? Shrug
and
emoji.
The doors close, and now we cut to inside the elevator shaft on top of the elevator.
Yeah, so we see them in the shaft. There's in one corner of the
It's kind of dark. It's very grainy.
The couch is standing on its short end, like straight up, and then Balky and Larry are like on the edges.
And Larry's like, phase 1 complete. We are on our way to the top.
And Balky says, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't the phrase on our way to the top imply movement? Because they're not moving.
He has some good snarky
and Larry's
lines,
like,
Balky
oh, I forgot to push the button. Little snag, no big deal. I'll just climb down into the elevator through this little trapdoor. There's always
the
a trapdoor in the
top to get in the elevator.
Is that real, by the way?
I think so.
Is it actual? I never.
I think all elevators have to have some kind of escape in case something happens.
So we'll just climb through this little trapdoor, press 15, and we'll be on our way. And he lifts like the whole lid of the trapdoor. It's like a separate piece, sets it aside. He like opens the door and he's like, I'm just going to climb down. And Balky's like, wait, how come I can't climb down through the little trapdoor? And Larry says, someone has to stay here with the couch. And he starts to climb down and Balky grabs him by the hair again and like stops him. And he's in this awkward, like about to climb down, but he's being held up by his hair. And he's like, cousin, I don't want to stay up here with the couch alone. It's scary. And he pulls him up and he pulls him up by his hair and Larry's like, ow, okay. I'll stay up here with the couch. You go down to the elevator.
So then Balky goes over to the hole and he starts to lower himself down. And you quickly, if you look at Larry, you see him looking at the couch of the elevator shaft. As Balky has both of his hands like on the edges of the shaft, Larry reaches down, grabs Balky's arm and just pulls it up.
Yeah.
And now Balky's just hanging in the hole.
And Larry's holding him.
And he's just holding him. And Larry's like, I'm not staying up here. It's too scary. We'll both go down. You go down first. So he doesn't want to stay up there either.
Yeah.
And so he's holding him by the arm and he's lowering Balky slowly. He's like, okay, I got you. And then Larry just lets go of Balky's arm and you hear
him fall and thud. And it sounds like this elevator is like super
I was like, it's not that tall. It wouldn't have been a big drop. And you just hear Balky go, oh.
Yeah.
I'm like, how far did he fall?
Some elevators are, no, but.
It didn't look that tall. Maybe this one has high ceilings. I don't know. But if it had high ceilings, the sofa would fit. Exactly. I don't understand what's happening.
Exactly. The way, the distance that was implied in Balky falling.
It's definitely enough to hold that sofa.
Exactly, yes. Okay, so a lot of things not making sense, but here we are in Perfect Strangers. Okay, so then we cut to back in the basement, the basement we know, B1. Outside of the elevator, and this guy, like this, workman's overalls, like a working,
clearly like a maintenance dude who works for the building.
Comes in from the parking garage, and he's got like a toolbox and stuff, and he's talking on a walkie-talkie.
And he has a sign in his hand. We don't see what it is yet.
And we hear him saying to the walkie-talkie, "Okay, Phil, I just came up from the sub-basement." Oh, that must be B2.
That's B2.
The elevator's at the bottom of the shaft and it's empty. We're ready for the test.
Uh-oh.
Let's see how much punishment this baby can take.
Uh-oh.
What? They're testing the elevator right now? Of course they are. So he's an elevator repairman, and the company is called Redding Repair Company.
It says on the back of his thing, Redding Repair Company.
Yeah. And he opens up the sign and places it in front of the elevator, and the sign says, "Danger, do not use elevator under repair."
And the audience gasps.
And we are like, dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
And we fade to black, and that's the end of Act 1.
This is when you gasp, listener. That's or when you're watching. Everybody gasp.
I love a good gasp.
Yes. Listener, you can join this conversation. Join our Facebook group. There is a link in the episode description. I post threads there ahead of time of the shows we're going to record, so you can watch along, leave your comments and questions. There's only going to be a few more left, actually. So jump on there before we run out of episodes.
We're running out of opportunities.
Getting near the end of this whole series. I can't believe we have done the whole. It'll be 150 episodes.
There. It took us a while, but we're going to get there.
It's not too late to join us on this journey and watch along. Join the Facebook.
Yeah, join it. Do it. Okie dokie. Here we are at Act 2, and we are inside the elevator now. Balky's inside. He's waiting for Larry to come down through the little hatch.
He catches his feet a little bit as Larry lowers himself. He's like, I got you. And then he steps to the side, and Larry is just hanging from the top of the thing. He's like, okay, just help me down. And Balky's like, well, just let it drop. It's just 1 foot. He's like, Larry's like, just help me down. And Balky's like, just drop. And then Balky goes, let's go. And he tickles Larry under the armpit. And Larry drops to the floor, landing on his feet. It's not that far of a drop. We just heard how he fell.
Oh, yeah. It's not that far, but
he lets go and he just drops.
Yeah.
And then Balky pinches his cheek and Larry smacks his hand away. He's not happy.
And so they're both in there. Now all they have to do, he says, I'll just press 15 and we'll be on our way. And he presses 15 and the elevator starts to go up.
The Belky's like, well, I'll be snookered. He's like, it's working. He goes, I may just have to eat my worms.
And Larry's like, words.
The Belky goes, worms.
Larry says, words.
Belky goes, worms.
Larry says, you might just have to eat your words,
Belky
which
goes,
is the expression.
Yeah, I'm going to have to eat my words. Belky goes, cousin, on meatballs, when you doubt someone and later on you find out that they were right, you have to eat your worms. He goes, they are a good source of protein, but it's a long, long time before you doubt someone again.
I love that. So cute.
I think it's
That's a
great.
perfect
You learn a
Meeposian
lesson. You'll
thing.
never doubt
Yeah.
someone again
Worms.
because I had to eat worms, and so I'm going to think twice.
Our version is weird anyway.
It doesn't
You have
make
to
sense.
Eat your
Eat
words.
your words.
I wonder what the etymology of
I
that
think
is.
eat your worms makes more sense, and you actually learn a lesson.
Well, yeah, eat your words means essentially the same thing that that the Meeposian one means, but I wonder what the history where that phrase comes from. All these idioms have like some originating story, so we'll have to look that up.
So we cut back to the basement, and now this elevator repairman has opened up this panel beside the elevator that has never been there before. I don't believe there was a panel that
It
said
wasn't
Reading.
even like covered up or something.
No.
Oh.
I don't think this panel ever exists. This
But
panel
now
there
it's just like got all these wires and
Yeah.
lights hanging out of it.
Yeah. And so he's like, he picks up the walkie-talkie and he's like, all right, connections, overrides have been made. Let's take it up to the 10th floor. He tells the guy.
Yeah.
And we cut back inside to the elevator when the elevator that was moving suddenly stops at 10.
And they're like, what? What's going on?
Bucky was like, what was that? Or
and
he's
he's
like,
we're
stopped.
supposed to go to 15, but we're only on 10. Something's wrong. And Larry's like, did it ever occur to you that maybe someone pressed the button at 10 to get on? And this sounds very like junior high quabbling to me because Balky says, did it ever occur to you that the usual sequence of elevator events is someone pushes the button and the doors open and someone gets in? And obviously none of that has happened yet. Larry's like, what's your point?
Larry looks at the door. He goes, what's your point?
Balky's like, my point is that the doors didn't open. Something's wrong.
Larry's like, everything's fine. Everything's fine. I'll just press the button. Be on our way again. And he goes to press the button. Meanwhile, we cut back to the repairman in the basement. He's like into the walkie-talkie. Okay, let's test the brakes.
Uh-oh.
Let's drop it 3 floors. Uh-oh.
And so at this point, we go back to inside the elevator and Balky. Larry's to like our audience left in the corner by the buttons because he's went to re-push the button. And Balky's in the other corner, the right side, back corner of the elevator. And Larry just pushes the button. He's calm. He's like, all right, we're moving. And then suddenly the thing drops like fast suddenly. And they both grab onto the walls and start screaming at the same time. And then it stops after 3 floors.
Goes, what was that?
And Larry goes, I don't know, but I think it's over. Let's
not dwell on it. He's like, I don't know, it's over. Let's not dwell on it.
Let's just get the hell out of here.
Let's get the hell out of here.
And he starts pushing like all the buttons.
And then we cut back to the repairman who's talking to his friend Phil on the walkie-talkies. He goes, okay, Phil, let's really test the brakes. Take her up 10 floors and drop her all the way down. Oh, my Lord.
So Larry's panicking. We cut back to inside the elevator. He's pressing like all the buttons. And finally the elevator starts to rise, but not because he's pressing the buttons, but because of these tests. But Larry's like, oh, okay, good. Everything's good now. We're moving. Everything's seems fine to me. Does it seem fine to you? And Balky's like, no. He goes, except I can take some small comfort from having just figured out what is going on here.
What?
And Larry says, you know what's going on? He says, well, of course I do. Don't be ridiculous.
There it is.
This elevator is possessed.
Oh, boy.
He said, I saw the very same thing in a Stephen King movie once, only the elevator was a car. It didn't have a couch on top of it, and we weren't in it.
You know what Stephen King movie he's referring to?
That's the one where the girl makes fires?
No, that's Firestarter.
Oh, Firestarter.
Car. There's a movie called Christine.
Oh, okay.
Where the car is possessed.
Oh.
That's the movie he was talking about. Yeah, it's a Stephen King book.
I need to read more.
1983, Christine came out.
Possessed car.
Yeah.
Oh, scary.
Well, he had Cujo, he had a dog.
Yeah.
There's a car. There's a clown.
Pet Cemetery.
Pet Cemetery. The pets, yes.
Okay, so Balky says the elevator's possessed. And he said, but aside from that, it was the exact same thing it didn't have a couch. We weren't in it. The elevator was a car, but aside from that, it was the exact same thing that's happening here.
Yes.
He says, this elevator wants to kill us. Next stop, hell. And Larry says, Balky, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And then this whole time they've been going up, climbing up to 10.
Yeah.
And then is the big drop is going all the way to the bottom and it starts to drop and they're screaming again. They just scream and we see the elevator plummet.
So we zoom into the panel inside the elevator as we watch it drop all the way down to B2. And then the camera slowly pans down to reveal Balky and Larry lying flat on
their
the floor
backs.
on the back of the elevator. They slowly sit up.
And both of their hair is just crazy.
Their hair
I don't know
crazy.
how their hair got crazy.
From the flattening, the force of the flattening. And Larry's hair is crazy and his eyes are crazy. It's an amazing face he's making.
Yeah, and right here you can see that Larry's hair is thinning a bit. But
oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. He's still got the mullet
on the
going.
top front. But Bronson has good hair. Yeah, we still have a good mullet, actually.
So they stand up and Larry grabs Balky and he goes, Balky, this elevator is possessed.
Freaking
We're
out.
going to die.
He's
yelling in his ear, we're going to die.
I hate this elevator. I hate it. I hate it. He starts pounding on the
elevator.
walls. I hate it.
And then Balky, to calm him down, just grabs him by the back of the shirt and yanks him up to where Larry's arms are
almost
hanging.
hanging off the ground. Yeah.
He's like, cousin, you're hysterical.
He goes, calm down. I'm going to handle this. I'm going to talk to the elevator. And he sets Larry down. And Balky says, I have a way with mechanical objects.
And at this point, Larry, you can see on his face, he's like behind Balky, like kind of encouraging him because now he thinks the elevator's possessed.
Yeah,
might as well talk to the elevator. Take care of it, Balky.
Larry's been on like an emotional journey this whole episode.
Yes, he's all over the place.
All over the place. And so Balky goes to the wall of the elevator and starts like patting it gently. And he says, hello, Mr. Elevator. May I call you Otis? That is a reference because the elevator company was Redding. And so I think he's doing like Otis Redding.
That's part of it. And the other thing is there's a company called the Otis Elevator Company, the world's largest manufacturer and maintainer of elevators. In fact, I remember if you step in an elevator and look at it, it's either like Otis or this other company, but it's a real company. And I remember at college, we had old Otis elevators and they've been doing it for like 100 years.
Wow. So the writers did the Otis Redding connection and changed the elevator company to Redding Elevator Company.
Yes.
And Balky calling the Mr. Elevator Otis.
Because most elevators are Otis elevators.
I never knew anything, noticed anything about
I've noticed
elevators.
since college, like the different, I don't know why, because we stand
Where
there
do you
long
see it?
enough.
Oh.
On the floor sometimes on the ceiling. But you ride an elevator long enough and you're like, it says Otis.
I never have noticed that. I will start to pay attention. Okay, so he says, Otis, I know how you must feel all day long, up and down, everybody pushing your buttons. But Otis, you're taking it out on the wrong guys. We usually take the stairs. He goes, now I was wondering. And then Larry suddenly has an idea, so he cuts off Balky. He goes, Balky, wait a minute. Elevators always have a phone.
Yes.
Now, I don't think it's an actual phone anymore, but
I think some elevators, or a button. Some still have phones or intercom. So he opens the panel beneath the buttons and there is a phone there. And Balky's like, what a great idea.
Old-timey receiver.
Yeah. There's a phone with a rotary dial. Yeah. He's like, who are we going to call? Nobody knows we're here. And Larry's like, we're going to call out for help. And Balky's like, that's a good idea. But first we should call Jennifer and Marianne and say our last goodbyes. And Larry's like, Balky, we're going to call for help. And Balky's like, cousin, we don't have time for that. We got to call our loved ones and cancel our magazine subscriptions. So now they're struggling over this receiver of the phone, and Balky's like, no, I'm calling. And Larry's like, I'm calling. And Balky goes, cousin, give me the phone. I'll give it to you when I'm finished with the Muppet Baby magazine. And I'm sure you can predict what is going to happen. They back and forth, tug, until it gets pulled out.
Yes.
And the cord gets pulled out, and Balky goes, oh, God, the line's been cut. And Larry knows what really happened is that they just pulled now the elevator is useless. But everybody saw that coming.
And Larry tosses the receiver.
And then he lunges at Balky and starts choking him
Homer
on the
Simpson
floor.
Style.
Yes.
We cut to the basement, and the repairman can hear the sound of their fighting, which I was wondering the whole time. Like, can't they hear
the
you
screaming going up and
through
down?
the elevator shaft?
Maybe. And is this like during the day? Is it?
I don't
or is it
know.
where are there other employees? Is this in the middle of the
Maybe
night?
it's night.
Why are you testing? But then why did they just show up at night
Maybe
when they're moving the sofa?
delivery. Or
No, they don't
maybe they were
deliver at
coming
night.
for something.
Is
Yeah,
this
I
the
don't
weekend?
know.
What is happening? Why are you
What's
just?
happening?
Did you put signs on the other floors? I didn't see him put any "Do Not Danger" signs on the other floors. How does he know nobody's
we
in
haven't
there?
been on the other floors. But now it's implied that they can hear the fighting through the elevator shaft, and the repairman gets on his walkie-talkie, and he's like, "Phil, the override checks out. The brakes seem okay, but I'm hearing kind of a high-pitched noise coming from the shaft." This is the noise of the Balky and Larry fighting. He says, "I think it's probably just the cables, but just to be safe, we should check the rate of climb." Is that a thing? I feel like they just made that up for this. He says, "Let's see how fast we can get this baby to the top."
Oh,
And
more
now
gasps
the whole
from
audience,
the audience.
is like, gasp, because we
oh.
know there's a sofa, there's a couch on top of this elevator. So if you take it all the way to the top.
And meanwhile, Larry and Belky are fighting on the floor, and it starts moving. And Larry's like, "Belky, we're moving, but we are going much too fast." And Larry's like, "What if it doesn't stop? What'll happen to us?" And Belky's like, "Oh, it'll stop, cousin. I guarantee that the top of the elevator shaft is reinforced concrete. When we arrive, the car will smash and be squashed like grapes. This car will be no thicker than the deck of cards. So you see, we'll stop. Feel better?"
And Larry just starts choking him again at his throat, and he's tossing him around, throwing him against the wall of the elevator to choke him. And Balky stops him, holds a hand up, and he goes, "Cousin, would you mind choking me down there? Because you see, any second the couch is going to come through the ceiling right above our heads."
Okay, so there's a weird thing. I'm not sure if they did this correctly about where the hole is and where the sofa is, and compared to where they are and the different reverse shots, because like the inside shot is facing the door of the elevator, but when you go to the outside, you're on the other side. But where he's standing now is next to the buttons, which is, I thought, where the hole is, where they drop down, right?
Correct.
So why would he say?
But then it is, because then we cut to a shot on top of the elevator right after this line, and they both look up and we can see them.
Which is ridiculous. You can see them through the hole. They've been composited in whatever shot this is. And the sofa is just to the left of them. So,
listeners,
he wasn't
we spent
standing
a lot
underneath
of time.
the sofa. Why would he say, "Move me over there"? He wasn't. He's just he wants to move away from where.
We spent a lot of time trying to figure out the logistics of this elevator and where exactly the couch was. And the conclusion was it doesn't make sense. And they just were hoping we wouldn't.
So they look up and they scream and they come back, and Larry pulls Balky over to the side. And he's like, "Is this better?" And Balky's like, "Oh, that's so much better. Thank you." And then he continues choking him again. When suddenly you see the numbers on the thing go all the way to the top floor, and we cut to this shot of the elevator. You don't see the cousins. It's kind of like a shot kind of low looking up, and this elevator comes crashing through
the couch.
Sorry, the sofa comes crashing through the top of the elevator, and then it cuts to it's really weird. A similar shot, and the cousins are now in the scene. Like in the foreground.
And for a moment, the couch is hanging.
Oh, and the couch is hanging and swinging like it's on tables,
a wire.
and not sitting on the floor of this thing.
But then it cuts to the next, and the couch is sitting on the floor of the elevator.
So they did, that was the cables that they used to. But it's a weird thing because there's a stunt shot. Obviously, it was too dangerous for them to be there when the elevator does come crashing through, the sofa comes crashing through the ceiling, and then it immediately cuts to the same shot pulled back, and they're standing there. It's very weird.
And Larry keeps choking Balky even after the couch comes through.
None of this makes sense.
And also does it look like the couch fit in that elevator, or was it sticking out the top?
It was I thought it would be sticking out the top a little because there's no ceiling, but it looked like it fit perfectly.
I think that's why it was hanging on cables, because they wanted to make it look like it was going through, but it was swaying.
It was swinging.
Yeah.
It was hanging on something. Clearly swinging.
It's so funny. Okay.
So we cut back to the basement. The repairman's there, and Wainwright's there.
I guess they then took the elevator all the way back down to the.
Yeah, they took it all the way to the top real fast, and now they're bringing it down. And we're with now the repairman and Wainwright, and the repairman's like, "Okay, Mr. Wainwright, all yours." And Wainwright's like, thank you. And the elevator door opens. And of course, what do we see? But a broken sofa in the foreground
elevator.
with Balky and Larry in behind it, strangling each other. And they pause to look over to Wainwright and both say, hi. Elevator repairman person was played by a fella named Ed Hooks. Of course, another veteran television actor. You would have seen him on Dynasty, Knight Rider, The Fall Guy, Hill Street Blues, Remington Steele, St. Elsewhere, Starman, Knots Landing, Empty Nest, Quantum Leap, The Golden Girls, Home Improvement, a bunch of other things.
Quantum Leap was one of those shows like Friends, like everybody went through there as a guest.
Or Seinfeld also. There's lots of side characters.
Seinfeld, yeah.
Seinfeld and Quantum Leap.
I meant to say Seinfeld.
Oh. He wasn't on Seinfeld, though. Not this
No.
one. Yeah. So, yeah, it's not like one of those shows. Is it?
It is from before, from a previous era. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're in big trouble.
Mission failed.
Presumably, and they did not succeed.
Does the Chronicle not have a freight elevator? Wouldn't you think a newspaper that has to transport pallets
of papers, yeah.
have a freight elevator for the giant printing machines that have to be moved in there, possibly?
Yep. They need a
Maybe the employees can't use it, and only, I don't know. You'd think they have one. That I'm sure the sofa would have fit in the freight elevator.
Yeah, again, lots of questions. Okay, so we cut. So we see, presumably they're in lots of trouble with Wainwright. We cut now to that evening. They're back in their home, and Larry's at the kitchen table, like crunching numbers with a notepad and a pen. And Balky comes in through the backyard door from gardening or something, and he says, "How's it going?" And Larry says, pretty good. I think I figured out how I can get my half of the money for Wainwright's couch.
Oh, they're going to have to pay him back.
Wait, what? He's splitting the cost with Balky. It was his stupid idea.
Larry should have to pay for all of the sofa. Let's be fair.
Half?
Yes. That is, that's not nice of Larry.
And so he says, I think I know I can get my half. He's been crunching the numbers and he looks at his notepad and says, no vacation this year. Forget about new tires for my car and sell my bagpipes.
When he says sell my bagpipes, Balky looks at him all sad. He goes, oh, and then Larry looks at him and goes, well, okay, I'll keep the bagpipes. Balky's happy.
Why does Larry have bagpipes? We don't know about this.
I've never seen, I don't know about Larry was musical. Oh, he can sing and dance. When did he get these bagpipes?
And so then he crosses that off his list and he asks Balky, where are you going to get your half of the money? Which again, why is he making Balky pay half? And Balky says, oh, that's simple. And he gets up and he goes to get a cookie jar from the shelf. And he brings this cookie jar back and puts it on the table. He says, I'm just going to dip into my Cousin Larry Appleton Emergency Relief Fund.
He has a Cousin Larry Appleton Emergency Relief Fund.
The
Fantastic.
CLAERF.
Let's get to the CLARF. The CLARF. How does money go into the CLARF? Larry's like, what are you talking about?
What in Balky?
How does the CLARF work?
He says, every time you try to impress Mr. Wainwright or lie to Jennifer or say, I have a plan, I put $1 into this fund.
That's smart. That is smart financial savings by Balky.
And Larry's like, oh, really? How much do you have? And
this
is like a really weird thing.
This is a really weird way to get this point across.
Yeah, I don't know what. Okay, so he opens the jar, he dumps it out, and at this point, I was expecting like wads and wads of cash, rolls.
That's
stacks,
not what comes out.
Like overflowing with cash, but only like a few crumpled
dollars.
And so he says, "Let's see, we have $3, some junior mints, but they're just like loose junior mints, and Larry takes it. It's a postcard, and he goes, a postcard of a golf course, and." Balky says, if you look down the 9th fairway, you'll see the villa I own. And Larry looks in the postcard, he goes, next to the lake. And Balky says, that's my pool. And then roll credits, which he's just trying to show that like he had put so much money into the relief fund that he had enough to buy a villa, and he's put the picture of the villa.
Did he have a real estate agent? When did he buy this?
No, you think Larry would know that?
What kind of deal did he get?
Owns.
He has a mortgage. He owns a villa. Have they ever been there? What is going on?
I don't understand. It was such a random joke.
It could have been just as funny as if it were wads of cash.
Yeah.
And he would just be like, here you go, cousin. Just like that. Like it just overflowed with that's what I was expecting. Yeah. The postcard thing is just,
it's just weird.
It's a stretch to get to this joke that he's rich. And was a mint. It was a junior mint. Anyways, roll credits.
And roll credits. No lesson learned. No lesson time music. Just a plan that didn't work.
Listener, check out our Dance of Joy merch at our TeePublic shop, danceofjoypod.com/shop. We'll get you there. You can buy a t-shirt or a hoodie or cell phone case or mug or tote bag with the Dance of Joy logo and the lovely blue background. Very nice things as gifts for yourself. Treat yourself. So you know what this did remind me of?
Yeah.
I bought a condo once. It was on the 8th floor.
I remember.
And I didn't want to buy a new sofa, so I took a sofa from our house. It was like kind of a big, wide, like our mom didn't want it anymore. She hated it. So I was like, you know what? I'll take the sofa. And I remember when we were moving the sofa in, there was a freight elevator. And I managed to do exactly what Larry was doing. I was like, I don't know if this is going to fit up in here, but we need to get this part up and in a corner.
Yeah.
And I think somebody was helping me.
Diagonal.
Yes. So we lifted the thing, shoved it in diagonal, and I vividly remember I was like bending the sofa in as the door closed. I didn't know it was going to make it. And I pushed it, and I was like, you pull, we're going to bend this. And the door closed. I was like, oh my God. Okay. So fine. We
got it out?
We got it out. We got it in the apartment. Great. It was great. And so then...
Was it a freight elevator?
It was a moving elevator next to it was aside from the regular elevator.
Yeah, okay.
It's an elevator size used for moving. It wasn't freight, but it was for... So,
Sure.
But then when I sold the condo and I was leaving, I was like, okay, I brought this thing up in this elevator. I should be able to take it down. I take it over the same freight elevator. I could not get the stupid sofa in the elevator.
How?
I tried.
How many years apart was this?
It's maybe like 5-6 years.
Okay.
I was like, the sofa didn't change. I got it in here. I tried all these different ways to bend it. I was like, how did I get it? It's not leaving. So I literally did what Balky suggested. We had to saw
the sofa.
I was like, I'm going to throw this away.
You just gave up on the sofa.
I was like, we're going to throw this away. Anyways, we cut it. I had to cut it in half with a saw.
Well, that's too bad. You could have donated it if it was...
I was going to leave it there, but the place had to be empty.
But I'm just bewildered how you got it up there.
And I was like, I got it in here.
Was it a different elevator?
No, same elevator. I couldn't get it back in.
You had to call that same friend.
I was like, I'm just going to have to destroy it. We have to smash this in half and just throw it away because I can't get it.
So you chopped it? How do you chop a sofa in half?
With, I don't know, sledgehammers, a saw. Yeah. It was fun.
Okay, fun times in an elevator.
So that's what this whole episode reminded me of. Did you like this episode?
Not really. There was a joke that was very, very funny that was about
no elevators, no couches.
No couches. That's also why we don't have talk shows. That part was very funny. The physical comedy was just okay. There was a role reversal. There was like nothing. There was no point to this except that Larry had wanted to is desperate to get Wainwright to like him.
And Wainwright still thinks he's an idiot now. Even more.
Because he saw these professional movers say they couldn't do it, and he's like, I can do it.
He got his head stuck in an aquarium,
Easy
and now he broke the sofa
and they nearly
the
died in the process. Doing something very dangerous, and he didn't learn anything. There was no like, oh, you're right.
Piano Movers was a much better episode about moving something.
I'm lukewarm on this one.
Yeah, it's all right. What did our listeners think?
Okay. First up, we have listener cousin Nicole Stoner, who writes, shouldn't the Chronicle have let their staff know ahead of time that the elevator would be out of order? Correct. And also,
just randomly decide, we're just going to put this elevator out of order. Maybe somebody
I got the impression it was nighttime, but then you brought up a good question. Why were they there? I mean, he's a reporter. He could go there whenever, but I got the impression it was all happening, like both the move and the elevator test were supposed to be happening at night. Or like after early evening to evening. Anyway, cousin Nicole Stoner also writes, nice to hear a Stephen King reference again in a furniture moving episode. Though, if you ask me, I prefer Piano Movers over
Yeah, that's what I just said. So they made a Stephen King reference in Piano Movers too, probably. I don't remember.
Probably.
Yeah.
Oh, because the piano was possessed?
Maybe.
It was turning the corners by itself.
Oh,
remember?
it was. That's right. It came down the stairs and was chasing them in a weird supernatural. That episode was hilarious, though. And that was really strange. Why the piano started chasing them down the stairs, I don't know.
Next up, we have listener cousin Pam Hitchcock, who writes, geometry and physics are not my strong suits, but why did the couch fit in the elevator when it landed, but not when they tried to put it in? Did it get smashed on the way down?
Maybe it got compacted a little bit.
I think they meant to imply that it was sticking out the top, but somehow, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe it broke. Maybe it broke on the way down. Compacted, yeah. She writes, I like how Balky called the elevator Otis when there was a sign that referred to it as the Redding Elevator Company. Otis Redding was a famous American singer-songwriter known as the King of Soul. His most famous song was Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay in the 60s. Coincidentally, Otis is the name of a company that makes elevators, which the writers creatively worked in.
Yeah.
She writes, great Balky burn on Larry about affording a villa funded by Larry's lies, and I have a plan. We thought that was weird, but...
It's weird, but he saved a lot of money, I guess.
He saved a lot of money.
Jeez,
we
every
get the
time.
point. It's a weird way to make that point, though, and the joke was weird.
How many times has he done that and we haven't seen it, in between the episodes?
Yeah, for sure.
That's where he got a lot.
And finally, in my memory, I didn't like this episode, but this time around, I found it tolerable, I'm not sure if I'm okay with it for itself or if I'm comparing season 7 episodes to each other. That's the challenge we're all having together as we close this out. I enjoyed the physical comedy and dialogue, although somewhat stale. So for whatever reason, I'm rating it 6 Bibi Bobkas.
Lukewarm reception.
Lukewarm.
That's the thing. Compared to season 7, it's one way, but then overall, it's just an episode. It's like, it's all right. It's just okay.
Next up, we have listener cousin Whitney Smith, who is very excited that we're back in our beloved basement set where the gentleman worked before. She found the episode. She called it After a Trip to Vegas and with Wayne Newton. Now it's time to go back to boring and terribleville. That's harsh. She loved the role reversal of the cousins when they were getting the couch in the elevator the first attempt. But like us and probably many other viewers, she writes, I didn't understand how the cousins got the couch on top of the elevator.
Don't worry about it. It just got there.
It just got there.
We're just going to cut and it's going to be in the elevator, on top of the elevator.
She writes, I didn't like the episode, but I didn't dislike it.
Okay.
So maybe not boring and terribleville, but maybe mehville.
Yeah, just average.
Just meh. I agree. And finally, we have listener cousin Jason Karinko, who writes, wait, there's a sub-basement at the Chronicle?
I know, yeah.
I don't recall ever hearing about that before. What's down there?
Suddenly it is. There is.
Probably just an addition for this episode to make it possible to put the couch on top of the elevator while still in the basement, but it hurts my brain a little, LOL. I also can't help thinking these elevator shenanigans wouldn't have happened if Harriet Winslow was still on the job. Oh, absolutely not. She would never have allowed an elevator test to be scheduled while people were still in the building.
Harry would be like, baby, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Maybe that's a bad idea.
Yeah. He writes, as mentioned earlier, I appreciated the Otis reference regarding the elevator company. And even though I noticed this particular elevator was a Redding, I didn't put the names together to realize Otis Redding was the joke. Now that I understand that, thanks to this podcast and its listeners, yay, I can point out another Otis Redding connection. When Balky spells out R-E-S-P-E-C-T, that's the Aretha Franklin version of a song originally recorded and written by Mr. Otis Redding.
Oh, it's multiple levels to this Otis Redding thing.
Cool.
Multiple meanings to the Otis, the elevator company, Otis Redding, the song. That's great. Good catch.
Good catch. And finally, he writes, as for the episode, it was just okay. A retread of the furniture moving episodes that came before, even though Larry claims here that he's never moved a piece of furniture in his life. Is Larry trying to gaslight the audience now?
Yes.
Oh, and finally, I thought Balky's cousin Larry Appleton Emergency Relief Fund, the CLARF, was a fantastic idea. If I ever rewatch this series from the beginning, I'll have to start one and see how many dollars I have by the end. That's a fun idea. Or you can do it with pennies or something.
You could buy a new car.
Yeah.
Don't be ridiculous was said once.
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
Still no Dimitri. It's been a while.
Well, we're not in the home. Well, we were in the home, actually.
We were in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That was it.
Where's the Dimitri intern?
And we haven't seen Dimitri in a while.
Okay, what about Perfect Strangers today, which is, of course, the segment of this podcast where we think about can we remake this episode today? And are there any things that need to get updated or changed or made more appropriate, etc.? Or can it?
I mean, there's still elevators. There's still, you can put things on top of elevators. It's pretty timeless. It's pretty doable.
You could still have a misunderstanding about not knowing that the tests were happening.
Yeah. They can still test it up and down. I wonder, are there cameras in elevators these days? Would they have checked the camera?
But I feel like, do you think that
sofas.
These days, like all these delivery people that come with Wayfair and whatever, do they just like give up and leave it there and be like, sorry, we can't get it up, bye, and then just leave the couch? No, they probably know how to get things
it depends.
to places. They would be climbing those stairs with the couch.
The movers. The movers would just give up. That doesn't fit in there.
They don't just give up and like leave.
They're like, well, there you go.
They're like, done.
But if you get something delivered and it's the wrong thing or doesn't fit, it will get taken back in your home.
Right. But like the movers wouldn't get to your building and be like, well, we can't get this to your apartment. I'm just going to leave it here on the street.
No, and there would be a freight elevator.
Right. Or they take it up the stairs.
Or they would just but that's a long way up. They're not moving it up 50. I don't know. It's a little, you got to suspend
That's the part. I mean, that's not like a PS Today relevant question.
Yeah.
That's just in general. Why did the movers just give up and go home?
They're surly union workers. I don't know.
Because Wainwright wanted to send it back with them.
Yeah, he's like, well, take it back.
Okay. They didn't give up on it, but okay. Well, okay. But PS Today, like all the conditions could still happen today.
Well, like a moving furniture thing is timeless. Again, we talked about Friends and Pivot and Up the Stairs. Like that's another great couch moving episode.
But in this one, if you were stuck in an elevator now, they would have cell phones in their pockets. To call somebody and be like, "What is going on with the elevator? We're in it. Stop the test. Whatever."
Yeah, you would be able to tell someone you're there.
So you just have to write in,
but there was a
why
phone
they
there.
don't have.
Had they not called, they could have called the guy. They could have talked to the guy conducting the test.
That's what I'm saying. In elevators now, it's probably not a rotary phone like that you can pull up the receiver out. It's probably just a call box or an intercom or something.
Yeah.
But I'm saying they would have cell phones, so you'd have to write in like some reason why they got in the elevator without their phones.
Oh yeah.
And so they'd be without that. Anyway, I think it's a pretty good PS Today score.
I think you could do it.
Yeah. It can be done. It can be done, folks.
That's it for this week, listener. Join us next week when Larry has apparently written and staged a whole play.
What?
Yeah. I thought
he practices bagpipes.
While he's playing his bagpipes, being an investigative reporter and a photographer, he is also a playwright.
I guess.
I'm
and
looking
a furniture
forward
mover.
to some like good theater humor. We both did theater a little bit in high school, college. So this should be fun to see how accurate they make the theater acting behind the scenes experience. In the meantime, another way you can support the show by buying us a virtual coffee. If you visit our website, there is a button that says buy us a coffee. Helps the show run. All the proceeds go back into hosting costs, maintenance, getting us caffeinated through 150 episodes. We'll have 150 episodes done of Perfect Strangers.
Listeners,
very soon.
Cousins, we are so close, and we're going to finish this out, and we can take all the help and support and encouragement we can get from y'all, and you can do that by visiting us at our website, danceofjoypod.com. And from there, you can hit all the buttons to go to all the various places you can stream this podcast, and go ahead and hit like and subscribe and leave us a nice rating and a review. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you like, you don't like. We're here for all of it. Every little bit of engagement helps us keep going till the end. You can also leave us a voice message right from the main page of our website. Let us hear from you. Tell us about your experiences getting with elevators. I've been stuck in an elevator once in Moscow. That was interesting. It was a little while, but we got out eventually. Tell us about your elevator adventures. Have you ever moved furniture? Did you ever have to saw a couch in half?
We're going to have to saw it in half.
In the elevator. You can also send us your stories by email. at danceofjoypod@gmail.com or on any of our social media accounts. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dance of Joy Pod. But Imran, what is the most important thing our listeners should do?
You're moving a couch in the elevator. It's all about the angles. And remember to bend the couch. You can slightly bend the couch. You may not be able to get it out, though, when you have to leave. Just I'm warning you ahead of time. But the other most important thing is to share this show. The next time you're in an elevator, just turn to the person next to you and show them the show on Apple Podcasts and be like, listen to this show.
Share it in an elevator.
Yeah, share it in the elevator. Give
on
them,
your way
give
to
them
the
one of these.
top.
Get out of the city.
And then make sure they subscribe.
And make friends. Yep. Share the show. Word of mouth goes a long way, and we will love and appreciate you forever for it. Thank you so much for listening. That's our show for today. And now we are so happy.
Now we are so happy. We do the dance of joy. Die, 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 die. Hey, 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 hey.